This is for the mother who lay beside her lifeless son and licked the salt from his stiffened skin, lips mumbling lullabies as maggots moved in his ears. This is for the father who folded his daughter's dress over her fractured face, who screamed into the soil until his voice split like thunder. This is for the parents who pressed palms into putrid earth, digging graves with fingers flayed, who buried their babies in shallow pits where flies swarmed like blessings turned bitter. This is for the boy who clutched his sister's corpse like a school bag, whose name was swallowed by salt water and a sky too full of prayers to hear another. This is for the girl with the pink plastic shoes, planted in puddles of petrol and piss, who danced for a dying brother as the sky slurred into sirens. This is for the mothers who felt milk fill while their infants froze, for the mouths that formed their names as frost-fused lashes, and silence settled like soot. This is for the fathers who fished for bodies with fingers numb from nights of no food, who wrapped rope round their wrists just to feel something pull. This is for the ones who placed pebbles on ribs instead of flowers, who stitched names into nothing because the sea swallowed the skin. This is for the blankets stained black with blood and bile, for the bottles still half full beside breathless mouths, for the stuffed lambs left limp on the sand. This is for the breath that broke in the back of a van, for the voice that vanished in vacuum-packed night, for the whisperers who wove their hopes into heatless hush while the walls listened. This is for the parents who bore the burden on bent backs, who bundled babies in blankets still damp with dusk, who packed their pain into plastic parcels and pressed on. This is for the ones who blistered on barbed borders, who bled into the soil so their children could one day plant something. This is for the mother who masked her milkless chest with warmth and whisper, who faked fullness so her baby would believe that love could feed. This is for the father who flinched at every flare, but walked forward anyway, whose silence was not weakness, but war against panic. This is for the parents who pierced the pitch with prayers and promises, who plotted paths through peril with no map but memory and moonlight. This is for the ones who crawled through canyons, their children clinging like questions to skin scraped raw by stone and sorrow. This is for the feet that bled on blistered borders, that pressed through powdered bones, barefoot on broken bottles, beneath bullet-bitten billboards selling silence. This is for the voices that vanished in vans, for the girls who were promised Parry and woke up chained to the floor of a brothel, mouths full of foam and someone else's fingers. This is for the lungs that burst in the backs of trucks, for the breath that begged through cling film and crates, for the letters etched in fingernails on the final wall they were never meant to reach. Let me never fold blankets without feeling the fingers of a mother who wrapped her baby in a scarf soaked with seawater, then sang while he stiffened. Let me never lift a spoon without seeing a father breaking its bread in half for a child who hadn't breathed since the border. Let me never forget the woman who cradled bones as if they might still bloom, who cupped her child's jaw like a rosary and rocked the cold as though it was still alive. Let me remember that some shoes are left on beaches like offerings, that some lullabies end not in sleep but in silence too deep to bury. Let me honour the hands that held fevered foreheads while bombs bloomed, the backs that bent beneath children too sick to cry, too light to weigh anything but the soul. Let me mourn the mother who walked barefoot across borders with blood in her boots and lullabies in her lungs long after the child was gone. Let me remember that some parents fought wars without weapons, just wombs and will, just faith and fire. Let me weep for the sleeping bags unzipped too late, for the girl who drowned with her doll, for the father who kissed the sea like a coffin and said her name until the water stopped answering. Let me bow to the parents who still walk with ghosts in their arms, and names pressed into their palms like scars. Let me carry their courage like a nail in my foot, a sacred pain that makes every step a vow. This is for the ones who didn't speak so their children could sleep, who didn't eat so their children could run, who didn't stop because stopping meant sinking. This is not sweetness. This is sacrifice stitched with steel. This is stormlight in the shape of a mother's shadow. This is thunder held in a father's hands. This is for the parents who forged love from famine, who built lullabies from loss, who chose the flood so the next generation might float. This is for the love that lingers long after the body breaks. This is for the blood that runs deeper than borders. Let me never forget what that kind of love cost. Behind the lines, this poem is my reckoning, my offering, my refusal to let the world bury its dead beneath bureaucracy and call it border control. I wrote it not for applause, not for art's sake, but to anchor myself to the unbearable humanity of those we name refugees, as if the word weren't soaked in blood and brilliance. It's my voice cracking under the weight of lives I never lived but can't unsee, a dirge for the parents who crossed oceans with infants wrapped in blankets of breath, only to bury them in foreign soil or salt. It's a confession that I walk warm, fed and free because someone else drowned, someone else starved, someone else staggered through frost, with their future clinging to their chest, and still lost them. This poem is my refusal to let those losses go unnamed. It is my protest against forgetfulness, a prayer shaped like a scream, stitched with salt, sorrow and reverence. It's a promise to carry their grief not like guilt, but like fire, something that cauterizes comfort before it calcifies into indifference. It's not a portrait, it's a pilgrimage, through blistered feet and frost-bitten fists, through broken lullabies and blood-soaked lull, through the silence that follows the last breath in a sealed lorry. This poem walks with the ones who walked anyway, who carried their children, their stories, and their sorrow across a world wired against them. It is not romantic, it is not redemptive, it is raw and it is necessary. This poem doesn't plead for pity, it roars against a politics that profits from forgetting. It speaks back to the headlines that hiss swarm, to the policies that cage children, to the fences that let flowers bloom on one side while bodies rot on the other. It honours those who loved through ruin, who fed their babies fables when there was no food, who chose the flood so their children might float, even if they themselves sank. It's gratitude shaped like grief, grief shaped like gospel. Most of all, it's a curse, sacred and deliberate. A curse against the soft sleep of those who have stopped looking, stopped hearing, stopped caring. It's a thorn I press into my conscience so I never step over the suffering without feeling it tear something open in me. Because some children flinch at thunder and call it a plane. Because some parents walk with ash in their arms and lullabies in their lungs. Because some blood runs deeper than borders. This poem is my vow. Stay awake, stay wounded, stay witnessing. Because forgetting is not just a failure, it is a sin.